அமெரிக்காவிலிருந்து வருகை தந்திருக்கின்ற டாக்டர் பிரதாப் குமார் அவர்கள் நாங்கள் சென்றிருந்த போது நல்ல முறையிலே அமைப்பு ஏற்பாடுகள் செய்திருந்தார்கள். அவர்கள் இங்கே வந்திருக்கின்றார்கள் என்பது முன்னரே நான் தெரிவித்தேன். அவர்கள் நாவலிடம் ஆசி பெற விரும்புகிறார்கள். அதனால் நாங்களும் கௌரவிக்க விரும்பினோம். அந்த அடிப்படையில் டாக்டர் ராவல் அவர்கள் பிரதாப் குமார் அவர்களுக்கு முன்னாடி அர்மா மருத்துவமனையுடைய தலைவர் கடந்த 15 ஆண்டு காலமாக படிப்படியாக வேகமாக விரைவாக ஸ்திரமாக முன்னேறி இன்றைக்கு மருத்துவத்துறையில புதிய சாதனை நிகழ்த்திருக்கிறார்கள். கிட்டத்தட்ட 40 கோடி ரூபாய் செலவில் மிகப்பெரிய மருத்துவமனையும் மருத்துவ கல்லூரியும் அதை சார்ந்த நிறுவனங்களை நிறுவிருக்கிறார்கள். அவர்களை பாராட்டு விதத்திலே டாக்டர் மாணவர் அவர்களுக்கு எங்களுடைய நிறுவனத்தின் சார்பிலே புராணை போட்டி கௌரவிப்பார்கள்.
அடுத்து தாகூர் மருத்துவ ஆராய்ச்சி மையத்தின் முதல்வர் dr.v.r.s.sampath அவர்கள் நன்றி கூறுவார்.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you all on behalf of the management and staff of the Indian Institute for AIDS Prevention and Tagore Institute of Medical Science and Research Center for your cooperation in making this seminar a grand success. Special thanks are due to our Honorable Minister of Finance and other dignitaries and distinguished participants for having graced this occasion and for their having spared their valuable time for giving useful guidance at this seminar. The conference will clearly bring out that, like any other disease, the AIDS patients are also entitled to proper care. They are entitled to basic housing, food and other needs. They are also entitled, like other normal persons, for education and jobs. In other words, no distinction should be made, but they should be rehabilitated and given all compassion. At the same time, the persons who are identified as AIDS patients should seek immediate medical treatment and be respected as being sober. The seminar will closely and clearly bring out the elaborate discussions that the disease can be prevented by taking blood donation after proper checks, and women should avoid pregnancy and they are suspected to be AIDS patients. Number 3, indiscriminate sexual enjoyment should be avoided. We will be also shortly bringing out an exhaustive report conveying all these results of the deliberations of this conference for most of the general public, especially the villagers. We shall endeavor our best to fight this killer disease by health education and imparting and preventing the disease, thereby eradicate it in our midst. Thank you once again.
இப்பொழுது கருத்தரங்கம் தொடங்க இருக்கின்றது. இந்த காலை நேர கருத்தரங்கிற்கு அப்பல்லோ மருத்துவமனையினுடைய நரம்பியல் நிபுணர் டாக்டர் v.r.s.sampath அவர்கள் தலைமை பொறுப்பேற்று நடத்தவிருக்கிறார்கள். டாக்டர் v.r.s.sampath மருத்துவத்துறையிலும் அதே நேரத்தில் ஆராய்ச்சி துறையிலும், அதாவது மெடிக்கல் டாக்டர், PhD டாக்டர் 2 டாக்டராக இருக்கிறார்கள். மருத்துவ ஆலோசகராகவும் அறுவை சிகிச்சை நிபுணராகவும் இருக்கிறார்கள். பல்வேறு பன்னாட்டு கருத்தரங்குகளிலும் இந்நாட்டு கருத்தரங்குகளிலும் கலந்திருக்கிறார்கள். மருத்துவத்துறையிலே மிகுந்த புலமையினையும் கல்வி அறிவினையும் பெற்றவர்கள். அவர்கள் இந்த கருத்தரங்குக்கு தலைமை பொறுப்பேற்றி நடத்தி கொடுப்பதிலே நாங்கள் எல்லாம் பெருமை கிடைக்கிறோம். அவர்கள் இப்பொழுது கருத்தரங்கை தலைமை பொறுப்பேற்றுக் கொள்வார்கள். கருத்தரங்கு இல்லை தமிழிலோ ஆங்கிலத்திலோ எந்த மொழியிலும் பேசலாம். சிறப்பு பேச்சாளர்களும் சரி, கேள்வி கேட்பவர்களும் சரி, எந்த மொழியிலும் தமிழிலோ ஆங்கிலத்திலோ உங்களுடைய கேள்விகளை கேட்கலாம். முதலாக அவர்கள் தலைமுறை ஆற்றி ஆற்றுவார்கள்.
Good morning, everybody. I am more comfortable speaking in English than in Tamil because if I speak in Tamil, all of you will refer to it as Madras Development Society. But you are welcome to ask questions in any language, either Tamil or English, because all of the speakers know both languages. It gives me great pleasure to introduce and request the first speaker, Dr.v.r.s.sampath from Chicago, USA, to give his paper. Dr. Pratap is known to me since I was a house surgeon in the same hospital when he was an assistant physician. So I've known him for nearly 22 years now, though it has been a long gap and he's been away for a long time. And it is very heartening to know that he's intending to start a center for this very important and terrible disease. Dr. Pratap.
For myself, I am Dr. Pratap. I'm a cardiologist. I'm a director of a cardiology lab in Chicago area hospital, affiliated with the Chicago Medical School, Chicago, United States of America. I am the executive vice president for South Asian organization. Before I proceed, I just want to say one thing. That is, when I was a third form student, I was asked to write an essay on Innum Sila Varudangalil. I wrote an essay saying we will be in the moon. The professor did not agree with me, he gave a 0. He said you are a dreamer. Yes, I am a dreamer. Some men see things as they are and say why not? Why? I dream things that were never and say why not? Impossibility is the sum of unrealized possibilities which needs to be recognized. Now let us look at this problem of AIDS. Many people have got a lot of misconceptions about AIDS. First of all, let me start by saying that AIDS first started according to a theory that is now discussed in the United States, that arose from a contaminated vaccines of polio given to the African people in 50s and 60s, and the virus was lying dormant and became apparent and started working, which was later transmitted to the visiting people from the States, and it started affecting the homosexual group primarily. It is not a disease of America to start with. That's a misconception. It is not a disease of America at the present time. It is a disease of the world, and we have to face this fact. First slide, please. AIDS is a global health crisis. It's no longer just a disease of homosexuality, no longer a disease of America. In 1990, when I came here in December, I talked to my own colleagues in the Institute of Cardiology, they were telling me that AIDS is not a problem of India. I simply got astonished about the ignorance that prevails here, even among doctors. Next slide, please. This is the virus which will occupy your defense system. I want to go in layman's terms and describe it as a phenomenon where the AIDS virus once gets into your system, multiplies very rapidly, then attacks your defense system. Imagine if you do not have an army in India, it will be invaded by neighboring countries very easily. The same thing happens when you do not have a defense system in your body. All the other microorganisms can descend on you and will kill you. There are about 300 to 400 billion T cells. I hope everyone here knows what is a billion. A billion is 1,000 million. There are 300 to 400 billion T cells, which are nothing but your defense cells in your body. When they are destroyed and when their level come down to 500, which is now called as CD4 cell count, your defense system will not function anymore, and therefore the microorganisms of different kinds will kill you. Until then, AIDS may be present in your body without yourself knowing or your neighbors knowing about it. Like please. I would appreciate if the audience keep up some silence, please. It is the duty of all the doctors to address the healthcare issues of the family, because we know that health is a fundamental human right, but it has to be won. Doctors must take the responsibility for the poor healthcare that is prevailing now today in India. It has become more commercialized than in the United States. Sure. Next slide, please. However, we have a ray of hope. As we walk into the 21st century, we will be combating this deadly virus infection in the future, and we should be able to quite long time ago. And this is the picture that we get. This is a very nice, colorful picture, but not colorful to our health. Next slide, please. In India, there are two things which sell very cheap. One is science, the other one is human life. The most advanced technology has failed miserably in containing AIDS because of its sexual, and it is probably competing with Maharashtra very closely in a neck and neck race. In the Manipur, the problem is essentially related to the shocking findings in Manipur are very alarming. The rate of spread of this infection is very high. Later on it became a matter of heterosexual spread, but in India the spread is essentially by heterosexual spread. Unfortunately, the number of cases of spread, but the people are being educated. 1 in 1,000 college students is carrying HIV virus. Multiple sexual partnerships do exist between married people as well as unmarried people, and also among growing children. But India seems to be no exception to that. India is becoming very rapidly Madonna type of sex, and that is wrong. We have on Sunday, and I cannot talk about all those things, the time will not permit, and there are several suggestions I have given, very simple and very useful one. Some of them are as follows. One is to dance. Still in India, movie seems to be the one and the only pastime in some of the areas, if not in all of the areas of India. Therefore, every movie must be preceded by. That's the Consul General of India, the previous picture, where I gave a letter to him, and he also appealed to the Indian community in Chicago.
From your perspective, I'd just like to make a few comments. But before that,
ELISA test is more than enough to detect AIDS virus infection. I was also told ELISA test to be done once. If it is positive, repeat it second time. If it's negative, he doesn't have it. Please do not believe that. I take a challenge that this will not be accepted by the people in the United States. I'm talking about when I said people, the healthcare industry, they will not accept this kind of testing process at all. Western blot test is a must because ELISA test can have false positive results, can also have false negative results. ELISA test involves plastic components and that can create a false positive result. ELISA test will be positive in patients who have got abnormal proteins. Even Western blot test in a 1 in a million cases can become falsely positive because of presence of abnormal proteins. One of my patients was found to have an intermediate reaction with the Western blot test. I do not think that we should accept such a poor kind of response. We cannot differentiate between human beings living in America and one rule for them and one rule for India. Even if the WHO comes and says ELISA test is more than enough for Indian people, means they think Indian life is much cheaper and therefore that's more than enough. They think in those directions, which I disagree with them. And in the United States, you cannot just stop with ELISA test alone. Another thing I was also told, this is an unconfirmed report. I do not know the authenticity of the report, but however I would like to mention this here, that a defective kit was dumped onto the third world countries. A defective ELISA kit has been dumped onto the third world countries, and that should be stopped, and we should get the proper kits and we should test everybody properly. Another thing I want to mention is about the false claim by the just like there are pseudo activists, there are pseudo claiming people who claim that they cure AIDS virus infection. And there is an article in the United States papers that Siddha Vaidya has got cured for AIDS virus infection. Well, I don't want to say it is not possible. Everything is possible. Impossible is only a sum of unrealistic possibilities. I do believe in that. But what is the way? How did he prove himself? He says there is one Iqbal Ibrahim and another Muhammad Ibrahim. Both of them went to Dubai and they were stopped in Bombay because they had some regulations to test themselves. Both were positive in Bombay, and then they came down to Madras. They were disheartened. They went to, I don't want to mention the gentleman's name. I'm going to be talking to him personally, and he took some medicines from him for a period of 3 weeks, and both of them went back to specifically Ehrlich laboratory in Raipeta, and they were tested there negative. So it's a cure. I can tell you that, gentlemen, you cured the illness. Please tell me if you can really prove that. You will become overnight billionaire, not just millionaire, billionaire. And not only that, I'm not talking about from the point of money. I want him to take 10 positive patients, tested by Western blot technique by Vellore Medical College or by Madras Medical College. Bring them, give them that 3 weeks or 3 months medicine, send them back to the same place and let them do the same test and let them turn out to be negative. Then I can accept with him, but not before that. Please do not waste your time and going to such people for treatment, because it will only prolong your problem. Another thing I want to tell you is at the present time there is no cure for AIDS to my knowledge, and what we have is AZT or other medications are available. AZT is used under two situations. One, when you have exposed yourself to the risk of AIDS virus infection, immediately AZT is given because it nullifies the virus virulence, and thereby the chances of itself spreading or causing infection is much lesser. Second, AZT is given whenever full-blown AIDS have developed. Third, once the patient develops a full-blown AIDS, there are many kind of illness patient can develop, and the doctors here should not say, that's it. Once the full-blown AIDS comes, there is no treatment here. I mean, I understand the financial implications. I understand the very little resources with which they are working. But at the same time, we should do our best for the patients. There are treatments available for PCP pneumonia with Bactrim IV. There are treatments available for everything. And in the United States, patients now live longer. Even with AIDS patients, full-blown AIDS patients go home and live for about 2 more years. And even though it is good to hear, but people living longer with HIV infection are only carriers. You should remember that. I don't want them to die, but at the same time, we should realize they will be contributing to the spread of infection if we do not create the awareness to the fullest extent. Any questions, please?
Please enlighten us. What major clinical features?
Okay. I am not an AIDS specialist, I am a cardiologist. I fix broken hearts. However, I know something about AIDS presentation, especially in India. When I was a doctor here practicing medicine, I have seen people coming with chronic diarrhea and loss of weight. Our diagnosis will be immediately amoebiasis or tuberculosis of the abdomen. Please remember, you have to have AIDS as one of the major, you have to have at the back of your mind. In other words, high index of suspicion. If you have an high index of suspicion in your mind, you will not miss AIDS virus infection. Any person comes with chronic illness, any person who comes to you comes to a doctor with loss of weight, you have previously loss of weight means diabetes, thyrotoxicosis, and cancer. Now we've got to include AIDS virus infection. Loss of weight, AIDS must be excluded in all patients who lose weight, tremendous loss of weight over a period of few months. That is the common presentation. The other presentations may vary. You may develop skin lesions which may represent the cancerous lesions, and you may also develop many other types of peculiar pneumonias. The PCP pneumonia is pneumocystis carinii infection of the lungs, and you can also develop ordinary pneumonia also, which will not respond to your antibiotics. Any infection which does not respond to antibiotics, you suspect diabetes in those days. Nowadays they include also AIDS virus as one of the causes for an infection which is not responding to treatment.
Doctor, can you get false negative ELISA result? If so, what is the percentage?
I have no statistics.
Because you mentioned you were getting false negative.
Yes. All tests, laboratory tests, please, and tests can be negative falsely, but I do not know the exact incident, unfortunately. If you want the test, there are 4 kinds of lab tests are done. One is ELISA test, another one is Western blot test, the third one is PCR test. Have any one of you heard about PCR test? The fourth one is HIV antigen test. HIV antigen test is very useful in pregnant women. When a newborn child, you test the HIV antigen because whether she has passed the virus to that child, because the child has to develop antibodies. That takes time. The second thing is your first PCR test, that is polymerase chain reaction test. That is the test for AIDS virus infection. If PCR test is positive, you are absolutely 100% positive with AIDS virus infection. But ELISA test can have false positive very commonly. It can have false negative also. But Western blot tests usually do not have any false positive reaction. But you can also have false positive reactions. I do not have any statistics. Yes, sir.
And you have mentioned that some of the difficulty tests have been marketed here. How do we know that? What kit is supply? You said that ELISA kits, defective kits have been marketed here. How do we know that whether it is genuine or defective? Because every kit, they are giving a positive sample. They are putting for each and every batch of the test their own positive sample. When it is becoming reactive to the accepted level of ELISA reading, then we all probably take it as positive. Then how do we know that it is a defective kit or a normal kit?
I qualified my statement by saying I have an unconfirmed, unauthenticated report which needs to be verified by myself. That ELISA, a defective kit of ELISA was dumped on third world countries. I don't know whether it came to India or anywhere else, but such things do happen. My point I was trying to raise is, if WHO is going to come and tell you, or other medical doctors from other countries come and tell you, for India, ELISA test is more than enough, please do not accept them. That is the bottom line.
I want to make a point here, because here, previously it was like that today. Now whatever sample is ELISA positive, they are repeated with another serodia or another ELISA kit. Then they are confirmed with Western blot from 2 centers, one from Madras, other from Vellore. Then only they give it as a positive. Nowadays it is a criteria which is
I'm very happy about it, but I did get a different kind of information from some people. That's why I asked. Even your health secretary told me that ELISA test is more than enough. Then another thing I want to mention in this connection is, in Cuddalore, doctors tested the patients for HIV infection. The blood was tested. Why? Because they are going to give the blood transfusion. All the patients, all the persons who gave the blood there were all labeled there, tested. The test results yet to be received by the doctors in Cuddalore. But what happened to the blood that was received by the patient? Already given. Already transfused. Very responsible person made this statement to me. That's not right. There is no point in sending those samples to Vellore to get the results. You got to wait till you get
No,
the
that is not for blood fasting. I am telling for.
I know, I
It's not for blood. Everything we are sending to Vessel. That we are doing all cases ELISA screening. Whatever is ELISA is positive, we are just. Blood samples are not positive. Now it has become a mandatory by the government of India.
Very good.
Each unit of blood has to be tested for the HIV and HBS rating. Then only it is being positive. Suppose if it is positive, then they reject the blood. They are not giving it. But they don't know about the private laboratory.
The problem is not so much with the ELISA positive, that's not a problem. But when you get a faulty kit and you test ELISA negative, then you're in trouble.
Negative is very
No, then you're in trouble.
They have not come
So what I'm saying, that's what Dr. Kumar is trying to highlight.
Oh, then
Is that if you got a faulty kit and you take
Because we
your
cannot have
ELISA
a
negative and you're actually HIV positive,
No.
that is the problem.
Every person must be tested by Western blot if ELISA is positive. Number one. Number two, the other one you are putting me out of context. What I was trying to say is, do not give the transfusion until you get the results back. But it has happened very recently in Kadalur District Hospital.
I think we'll restrict questions now, and because the other speakers have to also go on. I just want to make a few comments upon what Dr. Pratap Kumar has to say. With all due respect to him, I'm a bit disappointed that he has taken the typical attitude that Indians going to the United States and staying there for some years come back to India with. They develop what is known, I refer to as the Indian American attitude. Because they start saying everything is not right here, everything is not okay here, everything is perfect there. But all of us also know the stepmotherly attitude that the Western countries have taken towards the so-called developing countries. I hate that word. Because we are already developed. You can call it a third world country, but I don't think we should call ourselves a developing country, considering that we have the third largest scientific pool in the world. And under these circumstances, as he said, kept saying statements which contradicted himself, is that we do get dumped with certain things which they say are good enough for you. In fact, his opening sentence as to how AIDS probably got to Africa was that he said one of the theories is that contaminated polio vaccine was given to these Africans and that started off the AIDS. Now where did this vaccine come from? And why do we then say, the next sentence saying AIDS is not a disease which started in America? It could have started there, gone through the polio vaccine, gone to Africa and come back.
No.
So, no, I'm just telling you, explaining to you how we tend to say these things, and none of us really know how and where it started. So there's no need for us to have a stepmotherly attitude towards a particular country, or a particular race, or a particular color. That's all the point I'm trying to make. And the other thing about Madras being the highest incidence out of the 3 M's, I think is wrong. And I don't know the exact figures, but I'm sure there are many people here who can give you the exact figures. About 2% of blood transfusions causing this, that again I think needs a little correction. And he said he hasn't seen open chancres and open STDs in the US. I think herpes is a very big problem there. So they've eliminated syphilis, they've eliminated gonorrhea, maybe.
No.
But
It's not.
the STD as a whole, there are still a lot of STD going on there. They are still the top in the world, if I am not mistaken, and there are a lot of videos here to confirm it. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce the next speaker. No offense meant, nothing personal.
No. Dr. v.r.s. with all due respect to you, I got to defend myself here because we are putting it out of context. Number one, I did not say that first of all, let me finish this. First of all, the vaccines were prepared in the African monkey, not in the United States. You did not know about it. So, secondly, I said some people here gave the figure as 2%, which I do not agree with that. Thirdly, I said Madras stands first, neck and neck race with Bombay. I did not say Madras stands really first because it's neck and neck race. One time they say Madras is, even Mr. Navla Narayan told that Madras seems to be having the highest rate of infection. So it's a question of small things. And fourthly, I did not come here to preach anybody. This is the typical attitude of Indians when an America guy comes back here and gives the address. They always take it negatively. They say, you went there and came back and you are trying to teach us.
No,
This is the typical
if you
attitude.
don't mind, I think we both will talk in person later.
Okay, so we should.
I'm willing to spend a whole day discussing this
No,
with you.
we should not go that way. And I did not talk anything negative about India. In fact, I talked very high of India everywhere, wherever I went. Thank you.
Thank you.